I hate this podcast. I was going to listen. I was going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and now I don't feel like it.
It's the arrival. I came in the league, went straight for the title.
He's got it! Jeremiah Smith!
The Michigan Wolverines shocked the college football world.
You know, some people gotta learn how to lose, man.
And after all that, it's Ohio State together at the mountaintop.
There's nothing quite like the game.
Michigan versus Ohio State.
This is The Rivalry. Proud to be part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and sponsored by Elevated Integrity Construction.
Check on your friends who enjoy football, because most of us are just not well. This is the Rivalry Podcast. My name is Jace, that's JP. It's Michigan and Ohio State, a podcast for the greatest rivalry, not just in college football, but in all of sports, from River Radio Ministries, presented by our friends at Elevated Integrity Construction. We are virtually doing the podcast today. Some fool went out and got sick.
Unfortunate. You know, I looked forward to this weekend. I'm going to be really transparent here. I looked forward to this past weekend for months. Like, the second I saw the dates and everything drop for the first round of the playoffs, I saw what the matchups were going to be through the roof. I was like, my whole day is going to be spent on the couch, and it was, but not watching college football.
You didn't even have it on?
I did, but I was asleep. I could not. I had COVID. Thankfully, I'm negative now, but Saturday was a mess. Friday night, I watched part of the Oklahoma-Alabama game, and I probably watched the majority of that. Saturday came around, and I was like, I've got a full day of college football. That'll help push me through, and I just couldn't. I just could not. I was struggling. Well, the good news is that Tulane basically didn't watch any of the game either. James didn't watch part of it. I caught up. I watched all the, you know how after games they do the sped up replay versions of stuff? Yeah, like the Big Ten 60 or whatever. Yeah, I've seen all of those, and so I'm familiar with the games. But I'm familiar with your games. Oregon, I'm looking at you for giving up 30+ to James Madison. Fraudulent. We'll get to Oregon. We want to start out with our wheel route question, where we just kind of look around the greater world of college football and say, hey, okay, what's the big storyline here? Fear not, we will get to the Michigan coaching search down the line here. But let's start with, and this is brought to you by our friends at the Ohio Sinus Institute. There's some key players in the transfer portal. Already in the transfer portal, and JP, you wanted us to try to find some new homes for them. These quarterbacks. Yeah. And it's honestly a really quarterback-heavy one. So I think the most glaringly obvious one of the biggest names in the portal right now, Dylan Raiola. Yeah. The jokes have been made, Texas Tech, because of the whole Pat Mahomes. That's not going to happen. Where will Dylan Raiola play his final year of eligibility in college football? First of all, it's not his final year of eligibility. It's going to be his final year. It's going to be his final year of eligibility. Secondly, here, let me just say, here's why I don't love these questions. Is because it's just throwing spaghetti at the wall. I love it. That's why I love it. There's no rhyme or reason behind these. Dylan Raiola, Texas Tech. I don't know. That's my pick. I think I don't know. I mean, it's there's 135 of these temes. There's 5 that realistically have a chance, and I know the one that he's going to go to. You're going to hear it first. You're going to hear it first. You're going to hear it first here on the Rivalry Podcast. Are you ready to find out where Dylan Raiola is going to go? I could barely care less, but sure. He's going to be a Miami Hurricane. You think he's going to Miami? Miami does love themselves a transfer portal quarterback. They love a transfer portal quarterback. Carson Beck is done after this year. Does the Miami lifestyle kind of fit what I feel like his vibe is kind of going for? Yes, it does. That's not bad. I think Miami's the fit. I really do. The other option I could see, and I already mentioned this to you, and you said no, Oregon. No. I think Oregon. I think Dante Moore leaves for the draft. I think Dan Lanning's going to want to bring in an experienced quarterback. And I think Raiola is going to be a guy that he's going to think. I mean, you've seen their trend with quarterbacks has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think Dan Lanning would chomp at the bits to be able to get that guy.
Sure. And again, this is the thing is like, there's nothing in me that says, no, that's not going to happen. But you could have named 135 other schools and I would have said, sure. So I'm looking at this list you gave me because you're the one making us do this. You gave me the next name you gave me was DJ Lagway.
Yeah. I know where he's going.
I put Arizona State because I know that they're going to need a quarterback. I don't know. I have no rhyme or reason for any of this.
Clemson.
Sure. Why not?
I think this is another scenario. We talked about it way, way back at the beginning of the season where Clemson started to lose a handful of games. We started to think through, what does this mean for Dabo and his career coaching there? Could this be his last year? We went through all the situations. And one of the key things I said was that would entice Dabo to leave is having to start fresh. He's going to lose a lot of talent after this season. Klubnik's no longer going to be there. What is something that can help redeem that? And I know Dabo's been a guy that's been strongly against the portal, and he's made all those comments and everything. But it feels like Lagway is a guy that could go in there, keep the boat steady for a little bit. He's not like a home run hit, but he's an experienced quarterback that could come in there and that could still bring a little bit of excitement to Clemson without Dabo having to completely start from scratch.
See, DJ Lagway, and maybe it's because his name is also DJ, but like this reminds me of DJU all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, he might kind of be good, but maybe he's not. And maybe he's good, but maybe he's not. Like that's DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
So, you gave me Sam Levitt.
No.
You gave me Sam Levitt, the Arizona State kid, transferring out. He was originally a Michigan State guy, so I'm going to say Michigan State. They need a quarterback.
Ooh, honestly, that's not a bad pick.
I mean, they got a new head coach, which is more than I can say for my boys right now. So I mean, why not?
Well, I think Indiana. I think Indiana is where he ends up. You've seen it every single season. Cignetti's been the head coach. He's brought in a transfer portal quarterback. Mendoza obviously gone into the draft. It feels like a natural fit. It just feels like a natural fit to me.
Bo Pribula.
I think he goes back to Penn State.
That's what I said.
I know that's weird. I know that sounds weird, but I genuinely think he sees the door open for him to come back to go where he really wanted to be in the first place. I don't think he didn't want to transfer out.
That's the thing is he was kind of forced into it because Aller was clearly the guy. He had to make a decision. And if now you have the opportunity with a fresh coach, Aller, won't be there. I mean, he'll come back and he'd start.
Yep.
I mean, to me, that's the one that I looked at and said, this actually makes a lot of sense to me. The rest of these, like you'll see in this next one, Aiden Childs, it's just throwing stuff at the wall.
I know right where these next two are going.
You want to know where Aiden Childs is going?
To the pits?
Eastern Southwest Illinois A&M. Him and Cade McNamara.
Sure. This is back-to-back for me where they go back to where they started. I think Aiden Childs goes back to Oregon State. Genuinely think that's where he ends up. I know that there's still talent there. I know a lot of people still look at him and see the raw potential. I just don't think he's lived up to any of the hype.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And so I don't see any of these big name programs kind of going after him now. I think his market has shrunk. I know Jonathan Smith obviously not going to be at Oregon State, but I just feel like there's something there that takes him back and he finishes his career there.
And then the last one you gave me here was Nick Marsh, Michigan State, not quarterback, Michigan State wide receiver. Michigan has had a lot of interest. Let me put it this way. Michigan fans have had a lot of interest.
Well, yeah.
Because as much as we want to rag on State, and rightfully so because they're terrible, he's a great player. He's a really talented kid. So much so I saw folks on the Michigan side making the joke about, having Jordan Marshall and Zach Marshall and Andrew Marsh. And if you added Nick Marsh, you become the law firm of Marsh, Marshall, and Marshall. which is kind of fun. That's kind of fun. He's going to LSU.
Ooh, okay. I don't know if you'll agree with me on this one or not. This guy just reeks of USC to me. He just reeks of it. It feels like they always have that guy that's a really talented, flashy receiver that.
Well, look at Mekhi Lemon, right?
Yeah, should be a bigger household name, he just feels like he fits the bill. They're going to lose Lemon after this season. They're going to need that guy to step up and take that wide receiver one. Jordan Mayava is coming back. He apparently re-signed, which is the new term for this. Jaden, yeah. Apparently he re-signed, which is the new term for just I decided to go back to school.
Yeah.
Where was that when I was in college?
I did that every Christmas break homeschooling. I had to do that. It's like, I guess I'll stay in this family.
I guess I re-signed, and it's like
weird, man. We're talking about it in therapy now.
Yeah, you with your little hat. So I think they're going to want to keep a weapon for him, and Nick Marsh is just that guy for me.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him out of Michigan State because, again, as much as Michigan State has had very little success in recent years against Michigan, I mean, he's a talented player, right? I mean, it's the same thing as when Keon Coleman transferred to Florida State. Keon Coleman was the only bright spot of that Michigan State team, and I want to say it was 22, maybe 23, I can't remember. But he was the only bright spot for that team. He was 22. And you saw the danger, and then when he went to Florida State, I mean, he showed off because he now has a functional team, and obviously, has done well for himself. Has made it to the league and all that. Nick Marsh feels like a similar category. I'd love for Michigan to go after him. Obviously, Michigan's got a few bigger fish to fry at the moment, unfortunately, which we'll get to here in just a minute. Actually, we'll get to it right now. I'm sorry, I just looked at my note outline. Let's talk about the dumpster fire that is Michigan football.
I love it.
By the way, if you're new to the podcast, I am the Michigan man saying that, and that hurts.
I don't know where you guys go right now because there was a lot of chatter about Dillingham being the guy. He obviously re-signs with Arizona State. I don't know what's going on. At this point, I mean, you still have Jed Fish apparently that could be a guy, but I haven't even really seen any real rumors linked to him.
So let me say this first of all. This is where, again, you've heard me quote this before. I love John Bacon's analysis on stuff like this. Nobody knows anything. You've got these posers on social media pretending like they have inside information about it's going to be done this weekend, and it's going to be this and this guy, but they don't know anything. And so, by the way, if you're new to the podcast, like that's not what this is. If you're looking for X's and O's, if you're looking for these, insider fake information, like you have other podcasts for that. This is a vibes podcast. This is purely vibes. Do follow us, by the way, on social media at RivalPod. Subscribe, rate, review wherever you're listening right now. We're a very small budget podcast. We really appreciate that. We actually have a very nice studio, by the way. If you're new here and you're like, oh yeah, I can tell you're small budget because you guys are recording in your rooms. Okay, fair enough for this week. Okay, so now that kind of got some of that stuff out of the way, please follow, rate, review. Appreciate it. Where Michigan goes from here is truly anybody's guess. You nailed it with 15 minutes into the Alabama-Oklahoma game, I tweeted out, Kalen DeBoer, get ready to learn the victors, buddy. And then things changed.
Then he heard the song and said, ooh, actually, I need to turn this thing around real quick.
So DeBoer, here's the thing. Presumably is out. Who knows? I mean, who's to say that Michigan is not still swinging for the fences there? Nobody knows anything. Dillingham would be the one that I'd say he's off the board. He signed the extension, like he did all that stuff. Said that he never actually got offered the job, which may or may not be true. Who knows? But I mean, those are your two top guys. Jed Fish was in the mix. There were some things, I don't even know exactly what it was, but some stuff popped up in a background check thing that they didn't feel comfortable moving forward. But now maybe do they, what do you do with that? How? I don't know. So, I mean, now some of the names getting thrown out there. I mean, you've got guys like Jeff Brom at Louisville, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. I'm trying to think who some of the other names. I mean, the Kyle Whittingham at formerly of Utah is probably the name that has the most juice. But again, that's just based on vibes. Nobody knows anything. And of the guys that are available, so let's take DeBoer off the table for a second. Obviously, he's still number one because until he says no outright, he's still going to be the guy. For guys that are likely to come, and again, I said when the news first broke that Marcus Freeman would be one of my first calls. It appears that he's considering the Giants' job. So clearly he's not necessarily set at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I mean, I feel like I would probably roll with Whittingham. And here's why. You've got a guy who has proven that he can win with limited resources. You have a guy who's got some older maturity to him. I mean, he's 66, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of swing a little bit the other direction from Sharon here. And while sure, you may have, let's say, 6, 7, 8 years with him. You had, I mean, how many years did you have Harbaugh? 8? So, I mean, like the shelf life of coaches most of the time is probably not that different from what you'd get with Whittingham. You're telling me that if you had hired Kenny Dillingham and he came in and had success, that 7 years from now he wouldn't be looked at for NFL jobs and go? I mean, so I don't think that age should be as big of a factor here as maybe some people are afraid of. It's not a factor. But I look at that and I go, I mean, what's the shelf life of coaches not named Kirk Ferentz, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be where my gut leans. But there's no doubt this is a disaster situation, and just across the board, personally, professionally. I mean, Sharon Moore has completely just his selfishness has completely ruined personal lives and football lives, and it has affected so many people. Like it's an unfortunate situation just across the board.
So let me ask a hypothetical then for the Michigan side of things. Is there an issue in your mind? Because I also think that there's a danger right now for Michigan in hiring a coach just to hire a coach, and that's not necessarily the right way to phrase it. But
I know what you mean, though.
All your options are striking out right now. All the top names are gone. So now you're kind of starting to get to those like third and fourth wish list kind of people. Mm-hmm. Would there be an uproar in your mind, or do you think it's a bad move to just go, you know what? This year it's not working out for us to get the guy that we really want. We're going to name Biff Poggi the interim head coach for the season. He goes the whole season. You do with it what you can, and then you restart next offseason trying to get a guy that you actually want. Maybe you wait till the NFL season's over and try and get one of those guys.
I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's a terrible idea because I think in the NIL and the portal era, that's asking for your roster to get rated. I mean, if you're trying to get recruits, if you're trying to pull guys out of the portal, if you're trying to keep guys from getting in the portal,
yeah,
the worst way to do that is to go, we have no idea who's going to be the coach a year from now. Like I get the sentiment of, in the long run, is it better to? I think in the long run, it's better that you hire a guy, because there are enough candidates that would say yes that could do the job decently well. Like let's take a Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, right? Okay, so he's not your top 2 or 3. Would Clark Lee be an upgrade from Sharon Moore from a coaching standpoint? Probably. And so that's where I go. There is a line eventually where you go, no, we can't do this. I don't think that we're there yet.
Well, but I guess in my mind, I get the portal stuff. Like, I understand that's just a part of the game. I understand the impact of all of that. But I also think that there's an importance in hiring the right guy now. With 100%. All of the stuff that Michigan has had going on, for the past 3 to 4 years, where there's been controversy every single year, it just feels like this is maybe one of the most important hires in that program's history, because we talk about it all the time. The standard at Michigan, the standard at Ohio State, the standard for schools like Alabama isn't, can they do the job well enough? And so I hear you say, yeah, we can go out there and can we get a guy that can come in and he can do well? Sure, but that's not what Michigan wants. That's not what they should want. You want a guy that can come in and help you compete for national championships. That's why you went out and you got a guy like Bryce Underwood. And so I think going out there and hiring a guy that you didn't really want, but all of the other options seem to go away. I get the short sight part of it where you go, well, yeah, you're open to letting guys go and leave and go in the portal and be rated and whatnot. I would rather fix the problem long term and deal with the repercussions short term. I think the guys that are going to stay are the ones that you want to stay are the Jordan Marshall, obviously Bryce Underwood, obviously Andrew Marsh. Those key guys you're going to want to take care of. I don't know if I'm overly concerned with the rest of the roster being rated. I think some of them, sure, but I think right now, if you're a Michigan fan, I'm more concerned with let's hire the right guy versus let's just make sure we get a coach so we don't lose player A, B, and C.
And I think it's probably a balance between those two things, right? Like that's why I'm saying like there is a line, and it's entirely subjective. But there is definitely a subjective line where you say we aren't just going to hire any guy that would say yes. Yeah. Because I think Pete was talking about this. There's plenty of coaches that would say yes and to go coach at Michigan. It's a top 5 job. I love the people in the comments, by the way, after last episode telling me jobs that they thought were better than Michigan, and Michigan's like a 9th on the list. And I'm going, these are not better jobs.
Was McDonald's on it?
McDonald's was on it, yeah. Yeah, it was from
that's a free large fries.
Spartans Will 76 on YouTube.
Well, it's the only one he's ever had. So,
but there's certainly a subjective line there where you go, we're not going beyond this. But I do think there is I want to be careful how I say this. There is a balance of beggars can't be choosers based on when your coaching hire comes available. And also, don't take that too far because Michigan's got the NIL money. They've got the booster money. Michigan's finances are not a problem, right? And so you don't want to force it. But there is a reality where you go, let's take a Kyle Whittingham, okay? Mm-hmm. Could Kyle Whittingham come in, be given Michigan resources, and compete for a national title? Absolutely. And so that's where I would say that's on this side of the line where I go, is that the first choice or second choice? Maybe even third? No. But here's the situation we're in. Here's a guy that has a proven track record that given resources could get the job done, and age is not as big of a barrier as people think. That's what I mean by that's a guy that I'm saying green light, go hire him.
Yeah, I think there's still a couple of those names out there, but I think the window is starting to get smaller and smaller.
It is.
So at some point, you've got to have that conversation where you got to go, okay, DeBoer's out, and I think he's still going to be the guy. If you ask me personally, I don't think they're getting past Indiana in round 2, and I think Michigan kind of is playing that into their hand right now, where they're kind of waiting to see. I know it's right when the portal starts to open.
You better hope, man. You better have that plan in place because the portal opens next day. Yeah, and that's what I mean. At the end of the day, nobody knows anything. I agree with you. I think Kalen DeBoer is still an option. By the way, this probably is a good point to say that this stuff changes so quickly. We are recording Monday morning, December 22nd. It is 9:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when you watch this on December 30th and go, you idiots, 1, probably, but 2, things will probably change at that point. So this is where things stand Monday, December 22nd at 9 a.m.
Well, let's talk the actual game that's going to be happening with Michigan and Texas.
Because
we haven't had to do that in a while.
Michigan is having a football game on the field. Wow.
What's man, because there's a lot. Because, Chip Lindsey, I don't even know if we mentioned that. He's leaving now, so he's not even going to be the coaching at all. So now you're down a head coach, down an offensive coordinator.
If you had told me that, hey, in about 3 weeks, Wink Martindale will be the only remaining main coach or position coordinator, I would have, I mean, I still might yeet myself into the sun. I mean, it's not a good time. Yeah. Chip Lindsey to Mizzou was a shock, at least to me. Maybe to the insiders it wasn't, or to the faux insiders it wasn't. They have a way of breaking news that they called all along when they absolutely didn't, but it's fine. Yeah, that's an interesting move there, especially when we talk about teams getting rated. I mean, Michigan's got such a young offense, right? I mean, now you don't have a head coach or an offensive coordinator, so the fears of guys like Bryce Bailey, I mean, yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. But for the actual football, so a few opt-outs right now. Again, it's Monday, December 22nd, so this number will probably grow. But Michigan, some key opt-outs right now. Derek Moore has declared for the draft, Jay-Sean Barham, and Giovanni El Hadi. El Hadi, if you're not familiar, is an offensive lineman. Obviously, Barham and Moore on the defense. And then Sharon Moore has opted out as well. I can't. I'm sorry. That was just too.
I'm honestly, I wanted to say it, and so I'm surprised.
If I say it, as the Michigan guy, if I say it, it hurts less and more at the same time.
And that's what I love.
For Texas actually has a ton of opt-outs right now. So CJ Baxter, the running back, is in the transfer portal. Jarrett Gibson is opted out, running back. Linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., safety Michael Taff, cornerback Malik Muhammad, and then 2 defensive ends, Trey Moore and Ethan Burke. So, and by the way, Texas fired their DC. So, I mean, Texas is, in one sense, let's understand that bowl games don't matter. But in another sense, I mean, this Citrus Bowl, if you're not going to the playoff, no bowl games matter. Citrus Bowl is a historic bowl. It's a classic bowl. Like, this is one you want to win. And Texas just does not have a lot on defense right now as far as guys who started most of the year. Where that's really where I think this game gets interesting is because Michigan, because they have such a young offense, is, I would presume, unlikely to see a ton of opt-outs. Maybe Donovan McCulley. Again, all these things can change over the next 10 days, right? But I mean, think about Michigan's, the Bryce Underwoods, the Jordan Marshalls, the Andrew Marsh, 3 offensive linemen that are freshmen. Like, you've got Jamar Browder will be in there. Michigan's offense probably doesn't look that different, to be quite honest. You've got guys like Marlon Klein who are deciding whether or not they want to declare for the draft or if they want to stay. They're probably waiting on coaches to see what that looks like. So Michigan's offense probably is at more or less full strength. Obviously, Justice Haynes is unlikely to play. We don't know what's going on with him yet, whether he's going to stay or go or what that looks like. But Michigan should have most of its offense against a Texas defense that it looks a little bit depleted right now. However, Michigan's offense also doesn't have a coordinator or a head coach. Texas
This might actually be a better thing.
Who knows, man? I mean, Biff Poggi held his own when in the games he played. Texas will, still have their offense. Their offense will look. I don't know if it'll look completely the same because again, they've got a couple running backs transferring out or opting out. But you've got Arch Manning is going to play in this game. Ryan Wingo. I saw that. Oh, what's his name? The tight end, Jack Endries, is going to play in the game. And Michigan's going to have, no Derek Moore, no Jay-Sean Barham. So, I mean, the reality is that from a football standpoint, like this should be a fun game. Whether you're a fan of these teams or not, this should be a really enjoyable game. These are obviously two major programs in college football. Both of them were on let's call it a game away from the playoff, right? They were on the cusp of the playoff. And didn't have the seasons that they wanted, but we're still right there in the mix until the very end. So these are two good football teams. It should be fun. I mean, Arch Manning against Bryce. I mean that should be fun. There'll be plenty to watch for. My gut in this game, because my gut in this game says two things. One, it says I have no idea what this team is going to look like.
Yeah.
The other part of my gut says that I think Michigan may actually play a lot better in this game than people think. And I've kind of given you the reason why already. A depleted Texas defense with a Michigan offense that still has all their pieces in play. And I know the Michigan offense has had its, has sputtered at times. It's had these fits and starts and all that. And I also know that Texas has a pretty dang good quarterback of their own against the Michigan defense that will be missing some key players. But I do think that Michigan probably performs better than people expect in this game. Texas, I think, is 7.5-point favorites. And I do genuinely believe that X factors matter. And I mean, there's no team right now with more X factors than Michigan as far as these external circumstances going on around the Michigan program, where these are 18 to 22-year-old kids that, I mean, Poggi has even said, feel disappointed, feel betrayed, understandably so. And he talked about how practice has given them an opportunity to kind of escape from all that and just go be college student athletes. Go hit somebody, get some aggression out. I do feel like that makes a difference in a game like this. Listen, Texas doesn't want to be there. Texas doesn't want to be in this game. They thought they should have been in the playoff. Michigan doesn't want to be in that game either in one sense, but I think the players are ready to go play some football.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a really, really close game. I think the kids at Michigan in particular need a win, and I think they get one. I know they're touchdown plus underdogs. I don't think that really matters as much in the bowl games. I really don't. I'm going to take Michigan 23-20 over Texas.
So I don't necessarily disagree with your stuff when it comes to Michigan and Texas. I think given all the external circumstances, the stuff with Chip Lindsey, that team is going to be one that's going to be hungry. They're going to come out with some fire. They're going to want to prove that they still got it. And I think there's a lot of factors, though, from the Texas standpoint that I think make a difference. One of the biggest ones, I think, is Arch Manning. I think while this Texas team still has a lot of people on the defensive side of things that are going to opt out, even on the offensive side of the game that's going to opt out, I still think Arch Manning going to play in the game. He's going to outperform Bryce. I've not been a believer in Bryce at all this season. I think a lot of the games where he's had to play tougher competition, he's struggled. And a lot of them have been in his away games. Now, granted, this is a bowl game, so it's different. It's not like he's going into hostile territory.
It should be a pretty fair split.
It'll be a 50-50 split. Both fan bases are going to travel. But this is still going to be a good defense. It's not going to be the same defense that we saw throughout the season, which even then was still like a slight above average defense, I think. This is still going to be a decent team. It's going to be tough competition. And I've not seen him perform well against a team that's really been a competitive force. And so I struggle to think of a way that I think Michigan pulls this out if Arch plays, if still some of those key guys end up playing. I have this as Michigan losing 27-13.
Well, the points for Michigan, you have some precedent for that. Michigan has, I think, put up 13 points 3 different occasions this year, something like that, at least a couple. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad prediction either. Obviously, I took Michigan 23-20, but, I mean, it's also bowl season, and you just never quite know how.
Well, and I thought last year, I thought Alabama would absolutely blow them out, and then you saw a gritty performance. Now, that was with a handful of players for Michigan that still came out to play. Alabama still obviously had their guys, but I think what really hurts Michigan is the loss of Barnham and Derek Moore. I think both of those guys setting the edge would have made a huge difference being able to get to Arch. I just don't think you're going to be able to get a ton of pressure on him, and I think that's going to be what kills it.
Now, I would say this, maybe in the midst of this, maybe you feel a little bit like Ward Manuel in Michigan. Where you're trying to build like a champion, but you're not quite sure how to execute it because you waited until now to do something that you should have done years ago. Anyway, Aaron and the team at Elevated Integrity Construction have a winning pedigree and a team of All-Americans. They are a juggernaut of the industry. They've built a dynasty with championship builders. So if you've got a home, church, or business build, go with the folks with integrity in their name. It's Elevated Integrity Rivalry also proud members of the Varsity Network from Learfield this season. Varsity Network, the must-have app if you call yourself a college football fan. Live broadcasts, on-demand podcasts just like this one. Free to download. Find the Varsity Network in the App Store. Be sure to search for the Rivalry Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our friends, new sponsors, the Ohio Sinus Institute, because you deserve better sinus care. Get relief from the most experienced sinus specialist in Central Ohio, Dr. Boris Karanfilov. Surgeon-led, personalized care with over 20 years of experience. Minimally invasive, in-office treatments, on-site CT imaging for faster, better answers from the Ohio Sinus Institute. And finally, Rivalry Podcast, proud partners with our friends at Homage again this year. I've got, you can't really see because it's on Zoom, I've got the Detroit Lions Homage shirt because football is pain and nothing but disaster. But since 2007, Homage has been helping fans pay homage to the people, places, teams, and moments that matter most to them with quality craftsmanship, elite storytelling, and trademarked legendary comfort. Whether you're a Buckeye or a Wolverine, you can go get yourself some awesome merch from our friends at Homage in the link description down below. It supports the podcast as well when you do that. It's not too late for Christmas shopping. It probably is by the time you're watching this, but
who doesn't get a Christmas present late?
You could get a jump on next Christmas.
Yeah, get a jump start. Get a head start.
Sure, that's a thing. And by the way, wherever you're listening right now, please rate and review. Please subscribe. We appreciate that very much. And then if you do want to support the podcast, we've got our own custom Rifle Pod merch, Michigan and Ohio State, at riflepod.com. Just click on the support tab. And if you want to throw a few dollars our way, again, very small budget podcast, got some postseason opportunities we'd love to take advantage of. You can do it there as well. At RiflePod and riflepod.com.
It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk about my Buckeyes, and I am ready. I am so ready for this.
So we had this good discussion last time about which team you'd rather play between Miami and Texas A&M. I think we ended up both coming around to Miami.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to play Texas A&M.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the team that you would less. Yes, that. Basically, you were like, I don't want to play Miami, and I said I would probably rather you play Miami, and now you're going to play Miami.
Yeah.
That A&M Miami game was something on Saturday.
Sure was.
And again, I don't know how do you want to spin it, right? Because I felt like it felt a lot like the Texas-Ohio State game to open the year, where the way it was spun was, look at these defenses, which both have good defenses, but it was the way. But I'm watching it and I'm going, I don't know if this is good defense as much as this is nobody make a mistake. That's kind of what A&M Miami felt like. It felt like, yeah, these are good defenses. It also felt like nobody dare make a mistake. And A&M just made mistake after mistake after mistake and ended up costing them the game.
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M had 3 turnovers on the day. I know the one interception was the last second, they have to do this to win the game, kind of a throw by Marcel Reed. And I said it last week. I didn't want to play – I don't want to say I didn't want to play Miami because somebody in our comments took that as me saying I'm scared to play Miami. Let me just put it out there. Ohio State could beat any single team in this playoff, and I would feel fully confident that they could. However, that doesn't mean that they also can't lose to some of these teams. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to play Miami. I think they provided a tougher matchup for Ohio State. I still think Ohio State can beat them. I'll give you my prediction here in a little bit. But watching this Texas A&M Miami game, it didn't surprise me that Miami won. Everything just collapsed and died on me mid. Funny enough, it's all my credential passes from Ohio State. So
wow, weird flex.
Yeah, weird flex. It's a fun day over here, and so I would rather play Miami, or I didn't want to play Miami because I thought they provided a tougher matchup. And watching this game, I don't know if the needle really moved for me. I look at this, and one of the things that I wrote down was, in order for Miami to pull this upset, they have to play well on both sides of the ball, which sounds obvious, but I more so mean both sides of the ball on offense. They've got to be able to run, and they've got to be able to throw. I think this Ohio State defense, and I'm not even going to say I think. I know this Ohio State defense by now. I've seen it. This isn't a fluke defense. This is a darn good defense. They have not given up more than 20 points all season long. I think the highest is like 17 maybe.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Something along those lines. This is a team that just held Indiana, who had one of the most explosive offenses in the nation all season, and held them to 13. Points aren't going to be had by many. To beat this Ohio State team, you've got to win a gritty grudge match like Indiana did. You've got to keep them low scoring. You've got to be able to get to Sayin, make him uncomfortable. You've got to stop their run game. You've got to hold them under 20. Realistically, you've got to hold this Ohio State team to under 20. When I look at Miami, I go, okay, they've got some dudes on the defensive line. Reuben Bain Jr. is an absolute monster. They've got some tough, gritty, big guys on that line. They can get some pressure. I just don't know if they have enough, though. I think when it comes to the offensive side of things, I don't know if I feel like they have enough firepower. I know Malachi Toney has been an awesome freshman for them this season. Mark Fletcher had an amazing game against Texas A&M. I think he finished with $176 or something like that.
Yeah, 174, I think.
Something like that. He had a phenomenal day. Carson Beck, unimpressive. 100-something yards total. He was like 15 of 20. So it was a lot of dink and dunk passes. He wasn't a factor to me.
And I think that you will see a lot of the same game plan from Miami, because I think you're exactly right. Like, you're not going to get into a shootout with Ohio State and win.
No.
You have got to, the analogy that folks use when Michigan's won, and some of it's overplayed, but Michigan wants to drag you into a phone booth. That's kind of how Miami needs to do this. I think they are going to want to ride with Mark Fletcher again.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to need – I agree with you on this. You're going to need more from Carson Beck. But I also know that Miami is going to try to limit his mistakes. Because, again, early in the season, Beck had a lot of turnovers, and he really cleaned it up down the stretch, was playing very well. The way Miami loses this game – I mean, there's multiple ways, but you can lose this game two different ways. You can lose this game by Carson Beck getting reckless with the football. You can also lose this game, though, by being too conservative. I look at the Michigan game, and there were obviously multiple things that went wrong for Michigan in the Ohio State game this year. But one of the reasons Michigan lost that game is one of the reasons they lost the Oklahoma game, which was they were so afraid of Bryce Underwood making mistakes that they handcuffed themselves and lost the game because of it. You can roll out such a conservative game plan to not lose the game that it ends up costing you the game. So if I'm Miami, I mean, it's easier said than done. I don't have a problem with the dink and dunk passes. I think you actually can exploit Ohio State on the perimeters. However, you're going to have to – you don't have to take shots down the field all the time, but you're going to need to do something. You're going to – when I say creative, you're going to have to do something creative. I'm not saying you need to do like a Malachi Toney halfback pass. I'm just saying you've got to keep that defense guessing a little bit. This is too good of a defense for you to just go, we're just going to run Fletcher up the middle. It's not going to happen. You've got to test the perimeters. And I will continue to say I have very little respect for Davison Igbinosun and Jermaine Matthews. So I do think you need to take some shots with Malachi Toney down there, because I don't think that they can keep up with him. If Michigan had actually targeted Andrew Marsh, I'm not sure they win the game, but I think you've got a different game plan. That's the offensive side of the ball for Miami. I think on the defensive side, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? What did Indiana do really well against Ohio State? Many things, but one of the things they did defensively was they put Sayin in a pressure cooker. Ohio State struggled to protect him. I think there were 5 sacks in that game?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, just an incredible job by Indiana. Miami, you already mentioned Reuben Bain. Reuben Bain had 3 sacks of Marcel Reed. Deontay Scott had 2. I think there were 7 total. Those guys accounted for 5 of them together. And so if you're Miami, that's got to be the game plan there, right? You are not going to get to beat Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate in one-on-one coverage. You are going, and it doesn't mean you have to be blitz happy, but it does mean you have got to pressure Sayin because he will pick you apart. When he's gotten time, he picks you apart. If he doesn't have time, we saw him falter a little bit in that Indiana game.
Yeah, I still thought even in the Indiana game, and I know we disagree on this, I thought some of those sacks were just coverage sacks. I thought it was great coverage by the Indiana secondary and less on the defensive line. I thought the defensive line just inevitably had enough time to get to him.
But Ohio State has also had a bit of a struggling offensive line on that one side. And so if you've got Deontay Scott and Ruben Bain out there, I mean, that's if Miami's going to walk the path, right? It's not crazy to think it's not crazy to say Miami wins this game, but it's a tall task, man. I mean, Ohio State is the betting favorite to win this thing. There are I said going into the playoff, there are 5, maybe 6 teams that can win this whole thing. Miami's not one of them.
Here's what I keep coming back to as a comparison for this Miami team currently. They feel very similar to Penn State, in my opinion, right now. Carson Beck.
Unpack that one, boss.
What?
I said unpack that one, boss. What?
Right now, I feel like when I look at this Miami team, I go, really stout defense. Penn State, really stout defense. Offensive game plan, yeah, this quarterback on occasion can have a really good day, but in big moments, he seems to just kind of be average. Carson Beck, meet Drew Aller. Then I look at their run game and I go, very run reliant, Mark Fletcher, hey, Katron Allen. And so I'm looking at this team and I'm going, I've seen this team before handfuls of times, and they're dangerous, but they also have never gotten it done. And so that's not to say, this is going to be like some easy pushover game, anything like that. Those Penn State games are always tough. You're never comfortable the whole time. And so I'm looking at this game, and I just feel like with all the stuff, Ohio State being disappointed with how their season ended in the Big Ten Championship, knowing their goals are still ahead of them, there is still a little bit of that little like tick in the back of my head that's going, how focused is Brian Hartline during all of this? I think if you can if you can have them be focused, and I hope that the game plan was, okay, Brian, take a couple days, get your house settled and everything in order in South Florida, but then you've got to be here and good. I hope that that's how things situated. I think if you get a focused Ohio State team where they actually had their coaches really come out and sit down and really have time to actually dedicate to a game plan, I don't think that there's a way that Miami wins this game.
What's your score prediction?
I have Ohio State 24, Miami 13. I think to me, you've got to score more than 20 points in this game to beat Ohio State. I think even with Miami being able to somewhat slow down this offense and make Sayin a little bit uncomfortable, I don't think they have the defense of what Indiana had to offer. And I still think Ohio State had their chances against Indiana to put up some points and just didn't. I expect the red zone to be a lot better this game. I expect Bo Jackson to perform well. I think Sayin's going to perform well. And I think this defense is going to do what it's done all season long, and it's going to keep them in this game regardless. I just think the offense for Ohio State just has too much firepower.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's kind of like you read a lot of my notes here. I mean, it's not rocket science, right? Like, I think Miami can be great on offense, but they're inconsistent. They're hot and cold. And with Ohio State being extremely consistent, yes, the Indiana game happened, red zone problems and special teams execution and all that stuff. Yeah, that happened, but also, and this is a wild sentence to say, Miami football is not Indiana football. Mm-hmm. And imagine waking up from a coma and hearing that sentence said in earnest. I took the score almost exactly. Ohio State 24, Miami 14.
I'm not sad about it. There was a guy in our YouTube comments talking about this, and at first he was mad because he's like, scared's the right word. You should be scared. Ohio State's fraudulent and all this stuff. And he went on and on and on. Then he came back around and he was like, actually, I really like what you guys are doing. I'm subscribed to you. Thanks for what you're doing. I'm like, I don't understand this, but glad to have you, man. If you're watching this one, it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm super excited to watch it. Everybody keeps bringing up the 2002 national championship game and how this is going to be like revenge and all that, and how they've been waiting for it. It's been 20-something years, bro. We're not worried about that championship trophy still hanging in our shelves.
The one where you had pass interference?
It wasn't pass interference, but that's
okay.
cute.
Cool. All right, let's look at here. This is how Stupid Genius is usually where we do our upset picks. It's brought to you by our friends at the Ohio Sinus Institute. We are not going to do upset picks because we're not going to do upset picks because sorry, I was looking over some notes there because it's bowl season. And so do you want to go through the other college football playoff games real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I mean, let's start with we talked about Indiana for a second. Let's start with the Rose Bowl. I mean, it's Indiana and Alabama. We obviously last time we saw Indiana, Big Ten championship game there, and then Alabama gets the win on the road in Norman. Alabama still cannot run the football.
No,
and so when you're
scary.
The easy analysis here, but I think it's the right analysis, is if you can't run the football, I mean, Indiana might beat you by 70.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's like, does Alabama have the defense to slow down Indiana? Probably not. Like, they've given up 20 plus points in 7 of their last 8 FBS games. Indiana's given up 20 points twice all season. I'm not going to say there's not a world where Alabama wins it, and maybe that's some Nick Saban nostalgia, hanging around still, or some PTSD, I guess, if you're not a Bama fan. There's very few paths I can see Alabama hanging in this game. Like, the matchup screams Indiana. If Alabama's going to win, turnovers are an easy place to look. Defensively, I mean, can they get to Mendoza like they got to John Mateer? And offensively, Ryan Williams has to be a factor, and he just hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
I feel. I mean, listen, this is Indiana's world, and we're all living in it. I mean, I'm gonna take Indiana 31-17 over Alabama.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about this one. This is gonna be my favorite game outside of the Buckeye game. This is gonna be my favorite game of the week to watch. This is the one I've got circled.
Well,
I've said numerous times.
The Rose Bowl, right? The Rose Bowl should be the national title every year. Period.
Oh my gosh, amazing! This Alabama team is one that I've said numerous times throughout the season. I still believe in is an elite team. If they could run the ball, every other team would be not wanting to schedule them at all. There's something in my gut, and maybe it's just the small little bit of hate that I still have in Indiana. I just think that they're bound to slip up once.
Oh my gosh, dude!
I think it's incredibly hard. I think it's incredibly hard to go undefeated in the way the 12-team college football playoff format is set up. I think it's too hard to go undefeated, especially at the tail end when you play the level of competition that you have to play. You saw this happen last year with Oregon, where Oregon got the number 1 seed, got the bye week, went to the Rose Bowl, and then got manhandled by Ohio State.
But I mean this with all due disrespect to Ohio State, but Alabama ain't Ohio State.
No. And
not this year.
Still my point being, I still think it's just too hard to play that well and to not have kind of those slip-up games. And I know they had one against Penn State earlier in the season. There's just something in me that still believes in Indiana or in Alabama.
Disgusting.
I'm going to go Alabama in the upset.
Stupid.
20-17.
Stupid. You're a fool.
20-17.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say stupid. This is still from a ministry. Foolish.
Stupid genius.
Stupid genius. What I'm hearing you say is it's almost impossible for a team to go like 15-0.
Yes, fairly.
And win a national championship and beat your rival and win their conference. Yeah. I wonder if anyone's done that recently.
Nobody without an asterisk.
There it is. How about Georgia and Ole Miss? Because listen, all these now that we've got, and I'm not going to sit here and crap on the G5, but now that we're through that first round, I mean, these games are all great, man.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia and Ole Miss. For me, the Ole Miss defense is the obvious weakness here, right?
Yeah.
23 to Kentucky. They gave up 23 to Kentucky, 24 to Florida, 26 to Oklahoma, 35 to Arkansas, and 43 to Georgia. Georgia has also looked susceptible at times because in that game, I think Georgia gave up 35 to Ole Miss. Yeah. But it's all about, right? I mean, this is overblown, but it's all about peaking at the right time. The last 4 games for Georgia, they gave up 10 points to Texas, 3 to Charlotte, 9 to Georgia Tech, 7 to Alabama. I've got limited faith in the Georgia offense, but I've got a lot of faith in their defense right now. And I just think, if Ole Miss turns this game into a shootout, that's an Ole Miss win. I just don't think they can get it. If it gets into a 40 to 30 something again, where the defenses are just out the window, I like Ole Miss. I just don't see it. I think this sucker is a low scoring game, and I think Georgia wins it 20-17. I think they put the defense down.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think the Georgia defense, I believe in Gunnar Stockton. It just feels inevitable that they're going to go ahead and win this game. I think the Lane Kiffin departure finally rears its head here. I think maybe I'd feel different if he was still the coach. But I think this is where their story ends. My score prediction, man, I don't know if I see it as low scoring. I see a 31-27 Georgia. Ooh. I think it'll be close.
See, I feel like if it gets into the 31-27 range, I like Ole Miss in that scenario. But I don't think it's a crazy pick at all, obviously. I will say this. My heart wants Ole Miss to win this game.
Oh, for sure.
The Michigan side of me is going, well, what would be a tougher matchup for Ohio State if they get past Miami? I don't know. There's pros and cons to both of those. But, I mean, my heart wants Ole Miss to win that game, just like my heart's cheering for, the Indianas in the other side of the bracket, right? Finally, let's go to the Orange Bowl. It's Texas Tech and Oregon. Again, Baron Morton against Dante Moore is going to be absolute cinema. Oregon, I understand what the final score of the Oregon game was. But if you watched that game, Oregon cruised. Yeah, they took their foot off the gas. Yeah, Dan Lanning is mad to send a message to his team about never quitting and blah, blah, blah. This game was 38-3. Oregon just looked so good. I think where this is going to get interesting is, so much has been said about the Texas Tech defense, and rightfully so. Jacob Rodriguez should have been in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Oregon defense may actually surprise a lot of people. I understand you can box score watch, and as we say, stats are stats.
Stats are stats.
But I actually am a pretty big believer in Oregon's defense. And while Texas Tech has a good offense, Texas Tech's offense has one glaring weakness, and it's Ohio State's red zone efficiency, red zone execution. Can you get touchdowns, not field goals? Tech has struggled with that. And if you're playing Oregon and that dynamic offense, you ain't going to beat them kicking field goals. I am a believer in Oregon. I said in the little CFP bracket challenge thing, I took Oregon to win the whole thing. So unsurprisingly, I've got Oregon 24, Texas Tech 17. I think this game will be fantastic. Every single one of these playoff games is going to be great.
And that would set up in your bracket, that would set up a rematch for Oregon and Indiana, right?
Oh, man.
Look, I'm not even sad about it.
Give me because, and again, here's the thing. From a Michigan standpoint, if Ohio State gets into the national title, God forbid, Indiana and Oregon are both teams that could beat Ohio State, right? So if I'm on the maize and blue glasses cheering for what's the hardest path to avoid this disgusting repeat, that's a pretty good matchup to have, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to side with you. I think Oregon wins this game, but I do still think there's right to be concerned with that defense. I mean, we say it all the time, stats are stats, and 500-something yards total to James Madison, even in a blowout, ain't pretty. Is not pretty. Still gave up, 34? And I know some of that was garbage time, whatever. I know what the score was at half. I understand those. I'm not trying to just be a box score watcher. But that's still things that happened. That they still gave up 34. They still gave up 500-plus yards of total offense to JMU. Texas Tech, I just don't think has the offensive firepower. I think Dante Moore, I think he's gone after this year. I think he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I think Dan Lanning's the better head coach. He's going to have his team prepared for that moment. Some of those players are going to have the same disgust that they had last year where they got into this round and lost. I think they find a way to pull it out. I have this actually a little bit wider of a gap. I have it 27-10. I don't actually think it's that close.
Now, I'll say this. I mean, competition notwithstanding, stats are stats. James Madison does have like a top 10 scoring offense in the country.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to absolve Oregon of giving up that many points, but I do think that the flow of the game matters. Where when you're up by 1 billion, you take your foot off the gas, and it is what it is. And again, there's a part of me that would kind of love to see Texas Tech win this game just because they've been bad for so long. They've been nationally irrelevant for so long. Since what? Michael Crabtree?
Yeah.
That's I don't know.
Receiver Crabtree.
And so, but I just don't think that Tech has enough, and I certainly don't think Tech has enough to hang with, in Indiana or in Ohio State or Georgia or somebody like that. I think
teams remaining, they're probably the weakest one in my opinion.
I would say Miami. I think Miami is the weakest team in the field right now.
I think if Miami played Texas Tech head to head right now, I would take Miami.
I would not.
Really, I genuinely think I would.
See, this is where we need a losers consolation bracket where we can get some of these teams to.
We do. It's called the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Okay. I hate this podcast. I was going to listen. I was going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and now I don't feel like it. All right, watch out, kids! Krampus is coming. Okay, that's how we're going to wrap up this podcast. Hey, please do enjoy the games. Do subscribe wherever you're listening right now. Follow on social media because, again, we're recording on Monday morning, December 22nd. There is a ton that's probably going to change between now and the actual games. So follow social media at RivalPod. And if you'd like to support the podcast again, rivalpod.com. That is much appreciated. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that good stuff. Enjoy some of these fantastic college football games. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.